In 2015, Shia LaBeouf and his entire acting career became an overnight meme thanks to a single video, signaling the quiet onset of his downfall. Footage of Shia passionately shouting "Just do it" swept across the internet within days, with clips from his chaotic 30-minute green screen monologue appearing everywhere. Initially, everyone found it amusing. On the surface, it seemed like just another strange viral sensation. Many assumed it was performance art or a misguided creative effort, but behind the curtains, a more sinister reality was brewing. This was the public disintegration of a child actor who had graced countless screens throughout his life. Until that moment, Shia had been Hollywood's golden boy. He was the relatable kid that audiences adored in films like Holes and Transformers, but lurking beneath those performances were signs of the tragedy about to erupt. In the years following Just Do It, the roles began to dwindle, but the headlines continued their relentless barrage. Rehab stints, arrests, and abuse allegations mounted as his career crumbled. And Shia didn't face this battle alone. His saga fit a troubling Hollywood narrative. Child stars are often built up, then broken down and cast aside, frequently under unsettling circumstances. From his highest peaks to his darkest valleys, Shia LaBeouf's fall transformed into one of the industry's most chilling cautionary tales. Shia LaBeouf was born and raised in Los Angeles as an only child. His father, a Vietnam veteran and registered sex offender wrestling with addiction, worked as a clown, while his mother, a bohemian artist and dancer, supported the family through her creative endeavors. Both parents relied on the stage for survival. As Shia later expressed, "My family's history is 5 generations of artists who never quite made it." His first performance took place when he was merely 2 years old. Though it wasn't on screen or in a theater, it happened in a park, as the LaBeoufs needed to meet ends. The LaBeoufs entertained as street clowns. Shia's father pilfered a maid cart from a hotel, dressed it up, and filled it with hot dogs and shaved ice. Before they set out as a family to entertain, Shia later reminisced, "I loathed selling hot dogs. I hated dressing up as a clown. But the moment someone bought a hot dog from my family because of my routine, my parents would look at me like, 'Alright man, beyond performing, I've never received that kind of validation from anything else in my life.'" As odd as it may sound, those moments sowed the seeds for his future career in entertainment. However, everything changed when his parents separated. He lived with his mother for a period during which she sustained them by selling fabrics and brooches. Finances were tight, so much so that at one point his uncle nearly adopted him, yet they somehow managed to cling to stability. Shia's childhood was anything but conventional. He often described his parents as hippies, his father toughened by life, and his mother eccentric and free-spirited. Their home life mirrored that chaos. His mother often brought her nudist friends around. This left Shia feeling understandably mortified. "They would just be naked around the house," he said, "which was strange for me. And it was really bizarre when my friends were visiting. You've got your buddies over and mum's like playing naked connect the dots or whatever." When he wasn't at his mother's place, he was with his father, tagging along to Rolling Stones concerts and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, where at just age 10, he learned how to smoke and gamble. "Your dad really didn't act like a typical father at all, did he? He was my dude. He was like a buddy, but not in the group." Well, not in the best way, right? His father's lifestyle ultimately took a darker turn. Years of substance abuse led to rehab for heroin addiction. During that period, Shia stayed with his mother, who did her utmost yet struggled to keep everything running smoothly. The family's turmoil and instability peaked when a 10-year-old Shia sadly listened in on the horrifying assault of his mother at their motel, an intense trauma that would linger throughout his life. Similar to many who have faced profound suffering, Shia resorted to art as a means of release. He began performing stand-up comedy, humorously claiming that his act consisted of a 50-year-old mind trapped in a 10-year-old body, and at merely 11, was eager to push forward. He thumbed through a phone book, discovered an agent's number, and posed as his own manager to arrange a meeting. When the agent returned the call, Shia dropped the facade and delivered a brief routine over the phone. His confidence and timing were incredibly sharp. Consequently, the agent signed him right then and there. That same agent, who still represents him today, became a crucial support, funding headshots and driving him to auditions, as well as covering the family's rent during tough times. For a short period, life started to regain some normality when Shia returned to live with his father at age 12, hoping for a semblance of a stable home life, but based on his recounting over the years, the opposite was true. He recounted how his father's unpredictable behavior re-emerged almost instantly, triggering genuine fear, including one instance where, during a Vietnam flashback, his father supposedly aimed a gun at him. Despite this, Shia maintained his focus on performing. Acting became both his sanctuary and his lifeline, a means to process his trauma and assist his family in persevering. Over the following years, Shia began securing minor acting roles, commercials, and guest spots on television dramas. In 1998, he made his debut in Caroline in the City, later followed by appearances in shows like The X-Files and Freaks and Geeks. All of it was self-taught. He had never engaged in formal acting training. It all stemmed from gut instinct, timing, and relentless resolve. He had never taken a formal acting lesson. Not really? No. I just sort of, jumped right in and everything clicked. I booked my first 3 auditions and it all just fell into place. I swear to God, it all just happened. These initial roles became a lifeline, easing his family's financial burden, but his true breakthrough occurred when Disney cast him in the lead role for Even Stevens, providing him with consistent work across 65 episodes and burgeoning fame, and soon the industry began to take notice. At just 16, Shia received a Daytime Emmy for his performance. Oh my God, 16 and won an Emmy? What the hell? Wow. I can't even. I don't know how to process this. I can't even breathe. Oh my God, this is absolutely wild. Steven, I'm so overwhelmed. I haven't heard the wrap up yet. I'm just stalling a bit here. Oh my God, this is insane. There's the wrap it up, thank you. After Even Stevens, his career surged even higher as he scored his first significant film role in Disney's Holes, a box office triumph that grossed over $70 million on a $20 million budget. You're thirsty, Stanley. Yes, Mr. Sir. Well, you best adjust to it. You're going to be thirsty for the next 18 months. With each project, his ascent continued, and the industry began to view him as one of Hollywood's most promising young talents. But success brought a change. The once grounded kid from a struggling household started to reveal hints of arrogance, confidence, shifting toward cockiness. You're such a kind guy. I've never seen a guest clean their seat prior to sitting down. That's very thoughtful of you. Well, I mean, this isn't, David Letterman. Some of the furniture is a little outdated. I thought maybe she is. Yeah, he's got the good stuff. Well, Stolen Summer was I had a feeling she truly is. Yeah, he's definitely got the goods. Well, A Stolen Summer was that pile of junk was the very first one they made, and it turns out this one is just as bad. Hold on, are you saying the one you weren't part of and had zero input in is actually a piece of junk? Exactly. The one my name isn't connected to is indeed that awful, but my version, that's a true gem, a real charmer. Honestly, that's one of the most unlikable things anyone's ever laid eyes on. Sure, Shia was on the rise, but the first signs of trouble were already surfacing after Holes, and then the offers just started flooding in. In the following years, he starred in major studio hits like Dumb and Dumberer, Charlie's Angels, I, Robot, Constantine, Bobby, Disturbia, and Surf's Up, sharing the spotlight with stars like Will Smith, Keanu Reeves, Nick Cannon, Lawrence Fishburne, and Elijah Wood, all while contributing to box office numbers in the hundreds of millions. But that upward trajectory would quickly be overshadowed by what happened next. In 2007, Shia scored the leading role in Transformers as Sam Witwicky, a character whose chaotic vibes mirrored his own Mojo off the robot. The movie premiered at #1 in North America, raking in over $70 million during its opening weekend and reaching $152 million by the end of its first week. It completely blew away studio expectations, and by the end of its run, it had made approximately $320 million domestically and over $700 million globally. It became the highest-grossing film in multiple countries. By this point, Shia was at the helm of a worldwide franchise. My producer, Bryce, said to me, "You really need to get this kid, Shia," and I responded, "I thought he looked older, but when he showed up, he genuinely looked like a 16-year-old. What I love about Shia is that he feels like the everyday guy, yet he's incredible at improv and has this sharp comedic flair. Shia is truly one of the funniest individuals. Just naturally, it's sometimes tough to get through scenes with him since he's so adept at improv, he just gets more hilarious as he goes along." Shia's rising star didn't stop with Transformers. But just a year later, he appeared alongside Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Directed by Steven Spielberg, this film outdid even Transformers at the box office, pulling in nearly $800 million globally. It became the most profitable entry in the Indiana Jones series. While Shia wasn't the lead role, he was widely viewed as the franchise's successor, with some outlets dubbing him the next Tom Hanks. At this stage, Shia's life seemed invincible. He had broken the cycle of poverty, gained fame worldwide, and established himself as one of Hollywood's most sought-after young actors. But, behind the curtains, a darker tale was beginning to emerge. Years of suppressed trauma and rising pressure started to reveal themselves. In 2007, Shia found himself arrested after a dispute with a neighbor. He was accused of brandishing a knife at the man, and before this incident, his only brushes with the law were as a teen for swiping a Game Boy and some sneakers. He had successfully steered clear of trouble for nearly a decade, but after that, things began to spiral. Later that same year, he was arrested again for repeatedly showing up drunk at a Chicago Walgreens and refusing to leave, something he'd later poke fun at during an appearance on Letterman. Look, as I'm exiting, I'm thinking, I need to grab the cigarettes, right? So I head back upstairs, wait a bit, and I'm like, well, I gotta go back down and get those smokes. I toss on a hoodie and head back down, feeling like my disguise is perfect, and the guy goes, really? I'm like, yeah, really? He says, what on earth are you doing here? And I respond, well, buddy, it's your worst nightmare. And then another security guard, who's a friend of his, comes strolling in because, they're all pals there. Yeah. Oh. And then there's another security guard buddy of his. Since they're all tight there, he charges at me, shoving me into these plastic handcuffs. Yeah, he really tackled me, like, for real. It was like a delicate, awkward tackle where I just ended up flattened on the ground. So I told him, I admitted he was completely justified, I was an absolute fool, and he slapped those handcuffs on me. I strolled into the police station with pimple cream plastered on my forehead, and trust me, you can't portray toughness with that stuff on. He shared it like a comedic tale, but behind closed doors, it was nothing short of a nightmare. Shia was drowning in emotional turmoil, resorting to alcohol to cope. And with each incident, the fallout grew increasingly severe. In 2008, he faced arrest for driving under the influence after wrecking his car in a crash. Then in 2011, he found himself in trouble once again, following a brawl at a bar, and while that arrest would be his last for years, his career was spiraling out of control. Just 2 years after the debut of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Shia confessed he believed the film was horrendous and pointed a finger at Spielberg for part of its failure. Harrison Ford shot back, branding Shia a complete idiot, insisting that actors should defend their movies. Spielberg kept his silence publicly, but Shia later revealed what the director confided in him privately. There's a time to be human and voice your opinions, and a time to hawk cars. That crushed my spirit because to me, he was like a mentor. After that, Spielberg quietly pulled away. Then Shia started openly slamming the Transformers franchise too, isolating him from studios and fellow actors. Tensions escalated on set, relationships deteriorated, and audiences witnessed as one of Hollywood's shining stars slowly fell apart right before their eyes. By that time, the career that once fueled Shia's ambition just wasn't enough anymore. He had amassed more wealth and fame than he had ever dreamt of. And without that same fire driving him, what came next was a strange chapter filled with scandals, arrests, and a surge of meme culture surrounding him. By 2013, a troubling pattern of plagiarism started to show. Shia was dismissed from his inaugural Broadway show, Orphans, after clashing with his co-star Alec Baldwin. He attempted to patch things up by tweeting a picture of an apology email, but fans quickly realized the message was copied straight from a 2009 Esquire article titled, "What is a Man?" After facing backlash for that plagiarism, he went on to do it again, this time swiping lines from playwright David Mamet without credit. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Shia's directorial debut, the short film HowardCantor.com, premiered at the Cannes Critics Week in 2012. When it was released online the following year, viewers instantly recognized entire scenes lifted from a graphic novel by Daniel Clowes. Clowes told BuzzFeed he had never granted permission, had never met Shia, and was stunned to see his work ripped off almost frame for frame. He so perfectly understands how we're all like these aliens to one another that we'll never experience meaningful connections because we're all wrapped up in our self-made worlds. He could read the exact same words, word for word. But it didn't end there. Shia expressed regret for borrowing Clowes' work. Yet, even that apology was stolen, taken word for word from a Yahoo Answers post, and the cycle continued unabated. He started releasing his own comic books, and fans soon discovered that extensive portions were swiped from writers like Charles Bukowski and Benoit Dutertre. His follow-up apologies echoed lines from Tiger Woods, Kanye West, and Mark Zuckerberg. He even took it a step further by hiring a plane to skywrite his apology to Clowes across the sky of Los Angeles, and he swiped text from other sources for his websites. Meanwhile, a mounting collection of smaller plagiarism incidents kept rising, but copying wasn't the only odd behavior. In 2014, Shia walked the red carpet at the Berlin Film Festival. He was sporting a paper bag over his head that read, "I am not famous anymore," after recently facing a public backlash. The actor starred in Lars von Trier's new film, Nymphomaniac. Earlier that day, he had left a press conference abruptly when questioned about the film's explicit sex scenes. When the seagulls pursue the trawler, it's because they believe sardines will be tossed into the ocean. Thank you very much. Leaving his co-star Christian Slater to interpret his message before the hashtag number I am sorry appeared inside a gallery in Los Angeles. Shia remained quiet at a table, donning the same paper bag that read I am not famous anymore. Visitors trickled in one by one. Some claimed he was weeping beneath the mask. Others remarked that he hardly spoke, if at all. It felt like the public breakdown everyone had been anticipating. But beneath the memes and news stories lay something far more sinister, a drinking issue that was spiraling out of control. That same year, Shia found himself arrested following a drunken outburst at a Broadway show of Cabaret. Eyewitnesses reported he was smoking inside and shouting profanities until the police escorted him away during intermission. Things only deteriorated on the way to the station. He allegedly yelled, "This is absolute nonsense. Do you know my life? Do you even know who I am?" and even spat on an officer. Consequently, they placed a mask over his face as part of his plea agreement, sending him to rehab. Yet, like before, he laughed off the incident during a late-night chat with Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway, we reached intermission, and someone informed me of another gathering outside. I was thinking, oh, okay. And then I spotted 6 officers enjoying their own gathering anyway, they decided to take me to the station. Ha ha ha, oh boy, his addiction was only worsening. That same year, Shia starred in Fury, but the headlines shifted focus from the film to his extreme method acting. Reports indicated he refused to cleanse himself for months. He slashed his own face to create genuine scars and even had a tooth extracted. It wasn't dedication, it was self-sabotage. Then came the catchphrase, just do it. Do it! Just do it. Don't let your dreams be mere dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it. If you're tired of restarting, stop quitting. The viral meme originated from a 31-minute art experiment. Shia delivered intense monologues penned by film students, but when combined with his chaotic behavior, it seemed like a plea for assistance. And the turmoil didn't cease. Later, in 2015, he was arrested once more, this time at the Austin City Limits Music Festival. Witnesses claimed he was heavily intoxicated and dashing through traffic. He was taken into custody and subsequently released. Over the following year, things settled down, only to flare up again in 2017 when he initiated the protest livestream. He Will Not Divide Us, an art project outside the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, New York. The setup was straightforward. A camera was mounted on a wall, streaming 24/7, allowing anyone to approach and recite the phrase, "He will not divide us." It was intended to last for the duration of the Trump presidency, but it quickly turned into a magnet for internet trolls within days. Right-wing provocateurs began appearing to taunt him on camera. "Hey, Shia! Hey! What's up, bang bang, they did nothing wrong." Shia reportedly shoved one man. Then, he scratched him, leading to his arrest on livestream as you could see him shouting into the camera post-scuffle, which unfolded off-camera. He supposedly pushed a 25-year-old man from the Bronx and then grabbed his scarf, causing scratches in the process. Charges were later dismissed. Yet the movement became a target for relentless harassment. Trolls tracked and sabotaged each iteration of the project as it transitioned from New York to New Mexico, then Tennessee, and eventually overseas. Ultimately, He Will Not Divide Us was shut down completely, but Shia's legal issues weren't finished. Later that same year, he was arrested again, this time in Georgia, after allegedly shouting at a stranger who refused to hand him a cigarette. He faced charges for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and obstruction before he could post bail, saying, "What did I do, officer? Why are you messing with me? I know my rights. I'm an American. Come on, talk to me. You arrested me in my hotel for what, officer? Let's go, man. These cuffs are way too tight, man. Just let me go, please. Can we talk, just you and me?" "No, we can't talk about anything." "Listen, I'm not the one. Man, I'm American. I pay my taxes, so get these cuffs off me." "So, we're not going to have a conversation? No? You're just going to keep them on? Who are you fighting for? You've got a president who doesn't care about you, and you're stuck in a police force that doesn't care either. So you decide to arrest black or white folks just for asking for a cigarette? I came up to you trying to be friendly, you fool. I asked you for a cigarette, you idiot. Why would I do that if I were racist, you fool? I'm just asking for a cigarette. You said no, and then you arrested me. What for? Arrest me for what, huh? What are your charges, you little jerk? You think you can just act like this, you clown? You think you're tough? I can feel your gun pressing against my hand. Just back away from me, all right? That's just a shove. Yeah, it is, you fool. Do you feel good about your life? Do you feel patriotic about this? He later issued an apology, stating he's actively working on securing his sobriety. He expressed hope for forgiveness for his past mistakes. After the incident in Georgia, Shia went into court-mandated rehab. By the time he finished his program, the 31-year-old actor began to open up about how deeply his life had unraveled. He confessed that his outbursts were simply failures, or, as he described it, signs that he had been falling forward his whole life, saying he needed to take real responsibility for the chaos he caused before he could ever work again. During treatment, Shia was diagnosed with PTSD linked to his childhood trauma, specifically the night he heard his mother being attacked. Alcohol had always been his way out, and without it, he had to face the pain he'd been trying to drown all these years. Yet, after hitting rock bottom, it seemed he was finally starting to rise again. In 2019, Shia released Honey Boy, a film he created while in rehab, reflecting the trauma that shaped him. Playing a version of his father forced him to relive the memories that tormented him, allowing him to put his darkest moments into perspective. Critics hailed it as the best performance of his entire career. Honey Boy boasts a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and secured him the Hollywood Film Award for screenwriting. I want to thank the police officer who arrested me in Georgia for changing my life. I also want to thank my therapist and my sponsor for saving my life. I'm grateful to my Honey Boy team for documenting and sharing my journey. I want to thank my entire team for being part of my life. That same year, he shined in the unexpectedly uplifting The Peanut Butter Falcon, which earned a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It wasn't as heavy as Honey Boy, but it revealed a more grounded and mature Shia, one who was finally becoming the actor people had always envisioned him to be. For a moment, it seemed like he had turned a new leaf, redeemed in an industry notoriously harsh on comebacks. Yet it revealed a more rooted and evolved Shia, finally maturing into the actor that everyone had long desired him to be. For a fleeting moment, it appeared he had turned a new leaf, finding redemption in an industry notorious for its lack of mercy towards those seeking revivals. Considering your youth, you've navigated an extensive and quite bizarre journey. Indeed. The film is fantastic, and I genuinely wish you all the best. It's wonderful to see you thriving, Shia LaBeouf. But just as it appeared that the storm had finally calmed, another storm was brewing after their encounter on the set of Honey Boy in the middle of 2018, as Shia started a romance with musician FKA Twigs. The relationship appeared to signal a fresh beginning, with a prominent artist embracing him during a time when Hollywood was finally ready to welcome him back. For a brief moment, it seemed as though Shia was finding his footing in something secure, and people were genuinely pleased for him. But then the harsh reality came to light, and the fallout was ruthless. In December 2020, FKA Twigs initiated a lawsuit against him, claiming a history of sexual battery, physical violence, and emotional abuse. In the opening lines of the lawsuit, she stated, "Shia harms women. He exploits them and mistreats them both physically and psychologically." She contended he kept her in a relentless state of fear and humiliation, once forcefully pushing her against a vehicle. On another occasion, he attempted to strangle her and knowingly passed on an STD to her. In response, Shia didn't deny any of it. Instead, he made a haunting acknowledgement: "I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, just rationalizations. I have abused myself and all those around me for years. I have a track record of hurting those closest to me, and I am deeply ashamed of that history and apologize to those whom I've hurt." After the public revelation of the lawsuit, more accusations emerged, including one from pop artist Sia, who collaborated with Shia on her song Chandelier, sharing on Twitter that she too endured emotional pain at the hands of Shia, a pathological liar who lured her into an affair under the pretense of being single. "I believe he's very ill and feel compassion for him and his victims. Just remember, if you value yourself, stay cautious, stay away." It didn't end there. That same month, a video resurfaced from 2015, showing Shia in Germany in a heated argument with his on and off partner Mia Goth, appearing aggressive while being restrained by onlookers. As he was driven away, he uttered something chilling: "I gotta get out of here, bro. I gotta get out of here, bro. If I had to stick around, I would kill her." This only added more weight to FKA Twigs' accusations and painted an even grimmer picture of who Shia truly was behind closed doors. Within a single month, the goodwill he had been working to rebuild completely dissipated. And then, in 2022, another bombshell hit, further tarnishing his reputation. On John Bernthal's Real Ones podcast, Shia revealed that much of Honey Boy, his semi-autobiographical film, included exaggerations and even fabrications. He confessed that his father, whom the movie depicted as violently abusive, was in fact very loving despite his struggles with addiction. Like with my dad, now here's a man I had vilified on a grand scale. I laid all the dirt out there, you know, and used him. I viewed my dad as the root of my issues, thinking my wayward upbringing was why I ended up this way. You know, I blamed him for being such a mess. He's a biker, a wild man, a criminal, and abusive. Sure, but I constructed this narrative that was absolute nonsense. My dad was so loving throughout my life. Fractured, yes. Twisted, yes. But he was always there, always supportive. I pushed out this narrative that painted him as a terrible father. Honey Boy essentially became a big sob story about how messed up my dad was, and I wronged him in doing so. I remember talking to him saying, you know, I never read that stuff in the script you sent because I didn't include that in there. I was misleading him, just trying to get him to sign on the dotted line. He thought I was crafting a story like Braveheart. Honey Boy depicted Shia's father as a violent, unstable man who unleashed his rage onto his son. Yet the truth was far more intricate. His father had flaws, no doubt, but he wasn't the villain the movie portrayed. In many respects, he was a positive force, someone who attempted to guide Shia away from trouble whenever possible. My dad never laid a hand on me. Never. He once spanked me, just that one time. And the depiction in Honey Boy makes it sound like he was constantly abusing his child. You know, my dad was actually trying to keep me from smoking cigarettes. That was the one time he spanked me. He caught me smoking in the shower, pulled me out, and that's when I got spanked. But that contradicted my narrative because it didn't frame me as this damaged, broken child that audiences could root for, which was precisely the angle I had used him for. So when I spoke with him, I took responsibility for everything and understood clearly that I couldn't reverse it. Recognize this. My dad would have to live with a specific public perception of him for a long time, likely for the rest of his life. And I didn't unleash all this dirt out there. It required dragging his name through the mud before Shia could finally acknowledge the good this man actually brought into his life. And while he went on to reconcile with him and assist him through his own struggles with addiction, the damage had already been inflicted. The Bernthal interview garnered Shia some sympathy from viewers because of his raw honesty. However, for many others, it didn't alter their views. It simply reinforced what they already thought Shia was manipulative, abusive, and ultimately self-serving. In the years since, Shia has taken a surprising turn towards spirituality. He embraced Catholicism, a profound transformation that left many intrigued, yet skeptical. The spark for this shift was his role in the film Padre Pio. Shia found himself unexpectedly immersed in a spiritual journey. What started as preparation for a role evolved into something deeply meaningful. He spent weeks at the San Lorenzo Seminary, studying and living among the Capuchin Franciscan friars, fully immersing himself in their faith and lifestyle. It felt therapeutic. It seemed more like a healing journey than just filming. That sense of healing aided him in navigating a pivotal chapter of his life, fatherhood. You see, despite the controversies he faced in 2020, Shia quietly rebuilt his relationship with ex Mia Goth. In 2022, they welcomed their first child together, which shocked many at the time, but they're still going strong. Following Padre Pio, Shia stepped back from the limelight for a while. He made his comeback in 2024, starring in Megalopolis, a project from Francis Ford Coppola, one of Hollywood's most respected directors behind masterpieces like The Godfather. This project had been Coppola's obsession for decades, a $120 million self-funded venture that many hoped would become his swan song. Expectations were sky high, yet things didn't pan out as intended. Despite all the anticipation and the weight of Coppola's legacy, Megalopolis crashed, receiving mixed to negative reviews and flopping at the box office. With that, Shia's hopes for a mainstream revival slipped out of reach. Shia LaBeouf's tale is nothing short of extreme. He was a kid who clawed his way out of poverty with raw talent and determination, yet the very fire propelling his ascent burned down everything he constructed around him. For every striking moment of brilliance, whether it be from Transformers, Honey Boy, or the Peanut Butter Falcon, there's been an equal share of collapse. For every heartfelt revelation, a relapse follows. That's the enigma of Shia LaBeouf, a career marked by chaos and creativity. And after everything that transpires, one question lingers: can people ever trust him again? In light of all that's transpired, one crucial question lingers: will anyone ever be able to trust him again?